There could be a massive change incoming for the Dallas Mavericks roster. After last night's loss to the Denver Nuggets, the Dallas Mavericks are currently sitting with a 5-5 record, right at 500. And Mavericks fans everywhere are trying to wrap their heads around what it is that is ailing the Mavericks and why we're off to such a bad start. Is it Jason Kidd and his rotations and lineups? Is it Luka Doncic and his efficiency? Or maybe it's Klay Thompson in the way that we have our starting lineup structured. An article that came out earlier today details and highlights exactly what it would look like if Klay Thompson were to come off the bench. So in this video, we're going to break down that article, see exactly what they're talking about, whether or not we need to start Klay Thompson or bench him, and also, is it too early to make changes to our lineup already? But how's it going, everybody? My name is Marcel Martin. This is Mavs Digest, bringing the latest news on everything Mavericks related. And before we get started with today's video, we're going to change it up. We're going to bring some attention to a cool little event that we got going on this Friday at 9 a.m. Central Time to 9 a.m. Saturday Central Time. We're going to be going live on this channel for 24 full hours, raising money for the relief efforts in the Philippines due to the typhoons. So if you want to see me play a bunch of different video games, talk to other Mavericks content creators that are going to come onto the stream, or even play games with a few NBA players on the Mavericks roster, who knows? It's all a secret. You got to tune in Friday to find out. But I think there's going to be something really cool and really fun, and I hope to see you guys there. But like I said in the intro, the Dallas Mavericks are currently sitting with a 5-5 record, right at 500, and fans don't know what it is. Is it Jason Kidd? Is it Luka? Is it Kyrie? Can't be Kyrie. Could it possibly be Klay? Well, in a video that I put out a few days ago going over the crazy takes that Mavericks fans have about Klay Thompson, that they have buyer's remorse, that, oh, he really is washed up. Why is he on our team? We shouldn't have traded for him. Versus, well, maybe he needs to come off the bench. Maybe we don't just trade him away right away. Try and change up the roster. And I was under the impression that I think we're fine. And I still do think we're fine. It's just a rough start. Doesn't really mean we're going to have a rough finish to the season. But something does need to happen now to get us on the right path. And maybe tweaking our starting lineup could actually help. A lot of fans have also said that with PJ Washington gone, we've seen a lot of good things from Najee Marshall now that he's been in the starting position, and even when PJ comes back, maybe Najee continues to be a starter. We saw that happen with Derrick Jones Jr. last year, and it worked wonderful for us. It helped us go all the way to the finals. So maybe a starting lineup rotation change is exactly what this Dallas Mavericks team needs. But if we take a look right here, over his last several games, not the best. Last night, he had 10 points. He shot 4 of 13. He was 1 of 6 from 3. In the game against the Suns, he was also 4 for 13 and 1 of 7 from 3. But the game prior against the Bulls, which was a depleted Bulls, they didn't have Lonzo Ball, they didn't have Zach LaVine, and the Bulls just aren't that good right now with those two players out. He still only put up 13 points, shooting 5 of 10 and 3 from 7 from 3. So Klay Thompson, he's in a shooting slump, and when you have a player like Klay Thompson, who's a generational shooter, he's one of the better shooters, one of the best shooters to ever play the game of basketball. All shooters like himself know that you got to kind of shoot yourself out of the slump. Something that we are seeing with Luka Doncic, as he did have a slow start to the season. He's starting to get it back together, forcing his shots here and there. But if you want to fix your shot, obviously go in the gym, get your reps up, get some practice. But you do somewhat have to shoot yourself out of the slump. But is Klay Thompson in the starting lineup really what we need? We've seen how this team looked like last year, where it was Luka and Kyrie in the starting unit, and we had a great supporting cast off the bench. But now we have a third player in the lineup with Klay Thompson, Kyrie, and Luka, and that might be causing a clog where Luka is playing a little bit more off ball. His usage rating is down, his time of possessions are down, but he's tied for the most field goal attempts in the entire league, while his shooting percentages are subpar to his own standards. And I'm not trying to put the blame on Klay Thompson, it's more so a fit. If Klay Thompson were to come off the bench, does that open things up more for Luka Doncic with the starting unit? Will Klay Thompson get better looks if he's attacking the other team's second unit? These are the questions that we have to know the answers to if we're going to continue with this team, and we don't want to go to the end of the season with a what if we had Klay Thompson off the bench? What if we made these changes? Right now is the best time to experiment with the lineup and try to find out what works. And if we take a look right here, Mavs fans all over the place, just going crazy on Twitter, like this user, say Mavs fans won't admit this, but Klay Thompson is genuinely THJ with the worst ego. I'm not there yet, but if we look at just last night's game, you could probably make that assumption that he might be the next Tim Hardaway Jr. And even though his father isn't to the same extent as Tim Hardaway Sr., if Klay Thompson's shooting doesn't get better, we may have another Tim on our hands. Whereas this stat is a little bit more interesting in favor of Klay Thompson, is that Klay is leading the Mavs in on and off net so far this year. And Mavs Film Room quoted that by saying Klay Thompson has played well this season, despite not shooting as well as he's capable of. He's got to start getting some threes to fall, but happy with his defense and shot creation in early part of the season. So there is good things about Klay Thompson's game. He's not a complete dud. He's not a useless player that we can't play and he's a net negative. There are good things that come from Klay Thompson. His defense, his passing, his court awareness awareness. It's all there. His willingness to rebound. He gets more rebounds than our other players that are a lot younger than him, which is very surprising to me. And all of those small things that he does is what can attribute to this team winning games. But the bread and butter, the biggest part of his game that will definitely help us win games is the three-point shooting. Nico Harrison said himself, we were one Klay Thompson away from winning a finals, meaning that we needed some three-pointers to fall. And over the last several games, that just isn't the case for Klay Thompson. So what do we need to do to get the most out of not just everyone else on our team, but Klay Thompson specifically? That might be having him come off the bench. In an article that came out earlier today, goes over by saying Thompson is the answer to fix Mavericks' bench problem, whether he likes it or not. And if you go over the last few games that the Dallas Mavericks played, our bench was bad. In the other game against the Denver Nuggets, they had about 15, 16 points off the bench. That's not bad. But against the Phoenix Suns, less than 10 points from our bench. That's just unacceptable. And of course, we have injuries. I understand Dante's out, Maxi's out, Derrick Lively and PJ Washington are all out, but we still have players on the bench. We should at least get 15 to 20 points every single game from the bench and let the starting unit carry the rest. But let's see what this article has to say about Klay Thompson coming off the bench. Thompson playing a bench role was actually a possibility that some fans pushed for in the months before the season started, while everybody was getting adjusted to the 2024-2025 season. This not a surprise considering what Thompson went through with Golden State last season. He scored 35 points off the bench against Utah last year, and it was a recurring theme that made Thompson relevant again with the Warriors. But his role off the bench didn't seem like something Klay Thompson was a big fan of. And when we made that trade for Klay Thompson over the summer, it was pretty much just a no-brainer, something that had to go without being said, that if Klay Thompson was going to play for the Dallas Mavericks, he's going to be a starter, and he's going to get minutes. And obviously, with someone that's a 4-time NBA champion, who's a 5-time All-Star, who is going to be going down as one of the greatest players to ever play the game, it's hard to ask him, hey, can you come off the bench for us? But the numbers kind of support that Klay Thompson isn't a bad player off the bench, and that he might actually be better off the bench. And his numbers last season off the bench, I'm all over the place. I'm so sorry. So his numbers off the bench last season, he was averaging 19.8 points per game, 4.2 three-pointers made while shooting 46, 43, and 96%, shooting from the floor, 3, and from the free throw line. If we could get a 19-point per game score off the bench, that would do wonders for this team. And again, it might open up things more for Luka with the starting lineup, so we don't have to keep coming out with such low energy night after night to where we're trying to find our shot in the late second quarter, early third quarter, when we can find that off the jump from the opening tip to the closing horn. This might be the roster change that we need. And it's no disrespect to Klay Thompson. It's more so a fit with the Dallas Mavericks. I don't think there's anybody on this roster or in the organization that would look Klay in the eyes and say, you're not good, go to the bench. It's more so you would be better for us off the bench, and it would also help these other guys starting. And I'd argue it's probably a lot easier to ask Klay Thompson to come off the bench than Luka Doncic, the player who is the number one on the team. This is his team, even if he really hasn't been playing like it lately. We all know Luka Doncic will just play his way into peak form in the next month. I'm not worried about Luka long term, but in the short term, I mean, you might want to experiment with some things. I mean, Jason Kidd loves to throw random lineups out there. Why not change the starting 5? It has been just 10 games. I do feel like it is too soon to really be making big changes like that. But like I said earlier, you don't want to have a what-if moment down the line towards the end of the season where we're fighting for a spot in the playoffs or maybe in the play-ins, and we're asking ourselves, what if Klay Thompson came off the bench? What if we made those changes earlier in the season? It's up to the head coach to make these choices. It's up to Jason Kidd to make these tough decisions and to have these hard conversations with these players. Klay Thompson, just like Kyrie, just like Luka, those are stars. They do have an ego to a degree, and as a head coach, you have to know how to manage it. But just continuing with the article.
And to the
Oh, I am all over the place today. All right. This would be a high-energy lineup for the Mavericks. Marshall has been doing a great job playing defense and bullying his man in the paint. Using Marshall as another energy man early in the game could result in better first quarters. Let's say the injury bug hits Dallas again. Quentin Grimes might need to step in, or at least get more minutes. Of course, the players have to be good enough too. No one is denying that. Kidd has the power to use this new and improved roster at his disposal. If Thompson is struggling as badly as he was against Phoenix, he'll need to bring in new faces to make up for that shooting like Marshall or Grimes. And at least from the three-point shooting perspective, Marshall and Grimes, they're not Klay Thompson. Grimes and Marshall still struggle with corner threes just like PJ Washington, but every now and then they can definitely hit them. And if we can get Grimes more minutes, get him more reps, get him more familiar playing with everybody, maybe Grimes can actually be useful. So not only does Klay Thompson to the bench kind of help the Dallas Mavericks, as he could actually be explosive off the bench, helping open up the starting unit. This could also help Luka Doncic with his efficiency. Maybe we give more minutes to Quentin Grimes to help out with that second unit. It spaces everything out, as we have essentially 10 players that could easily make 2 different starting lineups on any given night. It's up to Jason Kidd on how he wants to use it, on how he wants to utilize it. But all in all, should Klay Thompson come off the bench? I don't see a problem with trying it out. I don't see a problem with seeing what works and what fits. Again, I'm not saying Klay is a problem. I think it's more so a fit with our lineups and our rotations, and all of that goes back to Jason Kidd. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section down below. Do you think that Klay Thompson should be benched, or maybe someone else should be benched and the lineup should look a different way? Let me know what you think it should be down below. We can have a conversation about it. But that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you for making this far to the video. Make sure to check out our Twitter and Discord. Links in the description below. Consider becoming a channel member. We are doing a giveaway every single month, and the only way to enter our giveaways is to become a member of the channel. And as always, y'all take care, drink water. Peace.